Hey, this is Chris from FitBar, and I'd like to go over the assembly instructions for the FitBar Rigs if you recently purchased one. And when you buy one, you'll get a lot of boxes, and whether you get the full set with the monkey bar truss or just a freestanding pull-up bar or with what we call the overhead monkey bars, all this really applies. So when you first get it, the first thing you realize is you're going to have to put what we call the diagonals on because they are at a 45-degree angle. So what you will do, there are various hardware kits in there, and we essentially have really two sizes of fasteners. We have 3/8 fasteners, which are used to connect the diagonal to the vertical, and then everything else has 1/2-inch fasteners. So it's pretty straight ahead. You'll be able to figure that out. And with the 3/8, there's a shorter and a longer 3/8. So I'm going to hold up a diagonal right here. So you're going to get your vertical, and it's just going to be like this with 2 tabs on it, nothing assembled to it. And you're going to grab this, and you're going to know, okay, there's rubber feet on it. I guess they go down. That's pretty easy. So there are, the longer 3/8 fastener goes up top. There are 2 white bushings, and there's washers provided, and there's also a nylock nut. And all you really want to do is take this, just assemble it like that, but with the tab in the middle, and then tighten down the 3/8 lock nut. Once you do it, you'll never have to take it apart. You can crank it down a little bit. You don't have to go super tight. You will see, even when you tighten it, you can still move it freely because that is a plastic material which acts as a thrust bearing there. So you can attach that, and then the second thing you should attach is this is called a turnbuckle, and you want to attach the bottom point to the lower tab. We provide the shorter 3/8 bolt, and there's also 2 rubber washers. The rubber washers really keeps it somewhat centered, and also just keeps this from rattling around if you're going to transport it in your car or what have you. I wouldn't have it disconnected to the diagonal just yet, but just get that in place. I didn't provide washers for that lower 3/8 because the turnbuckle is not flat, so it's not going to do much for you anyway. So the turnbuckle itself, once you do get it assembled, you can see it works pretty easy. There's the 3/8 pin, goes in the other end. There's a little window here, and you can see if you try to go in straight, you won't. You have to go this way and then turn, and then you'll find the hole and you stick the pin in, and that's pretty much how you attach that. The turnbuckle itself, and I'll go over that later once you get the thing assembled. So again, I would just go ahead and get the diagonal attached to the vertical in the top attach point, and then get the turnbuckle attached to the bottom, and do that for all 4, or if you got a truss, do it for all 6. Then now you got the assembly done, and now you're going to assemble all the structural components. I'll set this down for a moment. And you have multiple options, really. I have this set up. This is at the lowest point. That's at the highest point. These 2 are at the same height. Now, if you got an overhead monkey bar option, then wherever you attach it, the bars have to be at the same height. Otherwise, it'll be at an angle, and plus the distance would be wrong. So, but you could go from the lower or higher. You can do upside down and upside down, make it really low if you'd like. So there's a lot of options. So how I would assemble it, and this is how I've done it many times, and you can do this by yourself. The first time you may want to have somebody else there, but if you're very careful, you can assemble this all by yourself, all of it, with the exception of if you got the monkey bar truss. That's a big, large, heavy piece. It's too hard to do that by yourself, to pick it up and try to bolt it from the end. So how I would assemble this is this vertical. Think of this vertical, and this crossbar. Think of it laying down, right? And I would take this, and I would either have it all the way down or all the way up. It really doesn't matter. And then I would attach the 1/2-inch bolts. So I'm going to pick one up. It's like this. And by the way, always use a bolt that says A307 on it. That's what I provided. That is an ASTM spec bolt with known quantity. You go to Home Depot. I don't know what they provide. It comes from China, so it may work, but I can't guarantee it. So stick to ASTM 307 bolts. If you have a problem with anything, I can get you more. So anyway, put your, with this up and this laying down, just stick your bolts in. It's pretty straight ahead. With the bolt, you have a flat washer on one side, flat washer on the other side. Figure out whichever jump height where you want, and snug it down pretty good. And this will be at a diagonal again. If you're thinking this on the ground, and do the same thing over there. Then at that point, while it's still laying on the ground, I would swing this down and insert the turnbuckle, stick the pin in, and then adjust these so that the leg extends. Again, this is still on the ground. Now what you do is again, this is going to be down here. You pick up the bar, you walk it forward, and it's going to rotate backwards. It's going to be, this vertical is going to be leaning that way. That's good, because now the thing is stable. So then the next thing you do is, while it's in the air, again, you've snugged these up pretty good, get a crossbar, and you can pick it up. I've done it many times. And you pick it up, you hold it, you put some bolts in there. Sometimes a little tough getting the nut started, but once you get the nut started, it's there. Then you can go get 2 wrenches. And this will, this structure, this side, these 2 verticals and that crossbar will support that while it's in the air. It'll be sticking up like that. And then get these cinched down. As soon as you do that, bring the next vertical up. And again, it already has your diagonal on it. And then attach that. And at that point, I would have the turnbuckle on it. Now you've got 3 verticals. You can snug the bolts up. Once you got 3 verticals up, it starts to really get stable, and it gets much easier. Then you put the next crossbar up, another vertical, another crossbar. There you have it. So then you have your basic structure. Now, if you got the overhead monkey bars, like I said, you got to have the opposing bars at the same height, so you can put this on. I will warn you. So the main structure, it's just a structure like this, and then there's 2 pieces like this that are essentially clamps, and that essentially clamps onto the bar like that on one side. 2 holes. I give you the fasteners. They're the same. They're 1/2 inch by 3 inch long bolts. Same ones used here. Use a washer on both ends. Don't tighten that bolt too much. This structure is made directly from this. It's made as one piece. Here in the United States, we got to do everything we can to get the cost down, and I made this out of 1 piece of steel, and when they're done, it just falls out. And you don't have to tighten it that much. This is sitting in that groove. It's not going anywhere. You're essentially just keeping it from sliding back and forth, and it's not gonna fall. So put it on there, give it a good turn, but don't crank the crap out of it, because you're going to bend this. So just keep that in mind. I would put one of these up, and then what we typically do is we slide the bars in, and we get them in halfway, and I'll show you that. Here's one of our 1¼ bars, and they fit in. Sometimes you gotta wiggle it around a fair amount, and once you get it in there, it'll slide it. Again, you get one of these up there, and you can snug it down. You can just snug it down for that point. In fact, everything somewhat, keep everything snug. Don't crank everything down right away, because then you'll put the second one up, and just put the fasteners in and tighten it down a little bit, and then slide the bar the rest of the way through the other side. And once you got everything in there, before you tighten everything down, we have what's called our monkey bar lock, which you'll have a kit of what's called carriage bolt. And it's a bolt that has a little square on it. It has a rounded head, a dome head, and a square on it. You're going to look at the shaft. This shaft, careful, has a round hole and a square hole. You're just going to drop that in the top so that it falls in there. Now it just kind of secures it, and so you're going to stick your shaft in, put that in. The head's going to fall through the hole, and then you might have to spin it a little bit just to get it more. I usually just jiggle it, and there, it fell into place. Now you just take a washer and a nut, put it on there. Again, that's after you've kind of pushed them all through, and I would keep everything a little bit loose. Put your washer and nut. Once you got everything in, you got the overhead monkey bars in, all 3 of them. Now I just crank everything down. The last thing you want to do, set this down. And I should mention, we recommend you be on relatively flat ground. We've set it up on a number of different outside surfaces, gravel, grass, dirt. It's on concrete right now. I've set it up in a yard a few places, and it's pretty compliant. But don't try to set it up on a really on a steep incline or a place with a lot of potholes. I mean, if it does, I would suggest you want to keep the verticals relatively on the same plane. It doesn't have to be perfect. You'll put it on. You'll know if you put it in and there's 3 inches below one of the verticals, and you don't want to do that. You want to fill that in. The outriggers are compliant with the ground. So if your 5x5 where your rig is relatively flat, but outside that it starts to slope away, well, your outrigger will account for that, because as you tighten your turnbuckle, it keeps rotating down. So it'll account for that. So and that's leads into my final thing as far as how you stabilize it. Once you have the rig where you want it, I would suggest maybe go around and make sure all the items are lifted, and then I would tighten everything down, make sure everything is where you want it, and again, if you find that the ground is 3 inches low on one side, you would want to put some wood or something underneath that. And then the last thing I do is I just go around and you just turn this thing. You figure out real quickly, one way or the other it goes. You turn it, you turn it one way and it starts to raise. But I would go around each one, and you want to turn it. You can feel it's loose, and it starts to tighten up. What you want to do is called load sharing. You want the diagonal and the vertical to both take the load in the corner. And how you know that is just put it on there, you shake it a little bit, and you can see they're both not moving at the bottom. That's what you want. If you put the outrigger out too much, then this will shake. If you go the other way, if this is up in the air, then the diagonal's not doing anything for you. And the diagonal, what that does is it gives you stability, so you can do laches from one side to the other and keep it tipping over. Important. So yeah, make sure go around, make sure each one's snug, and they both have common load sharing. But that's pretty much it. If you have the truss, it's pretty much the same thing. You will need a second person to hold the truss up while somebody goes and bolts it down. Once you get this in place and you get one truss in place, somebody's holding it, somebody else is bolting it in, then you're not going to knock this. The truss beam is not going to knock this over. As soon as you get the bolts fastened up, it'll hang there for a few minutes and go get the other vertical and go bolt that on the other side and just slowly start building it same way you did this. Just kind of go around. So that's pretty much the same. And also the monkey bars on the monkey bar truss is the same way as well, with the standpoint. You take this in, you put it in a hole, and you drop the carriage bolt, which has a dome and a square on it. This shaft is a little bit longer, and this bolt is a little bit longer because the truss is thicker, but outside of that, it's the same exact operation. And again, I would leave the truss loose, snug bolts up, but don't crank them down till you get everything assembled. And once all the bolts are in place, now go ahead and just start cranking all the bolts down, so that your you're good to go. So that is pretty much it. If you have any questions, please go to just send me an email and I will respond to you. If you're watching this video and you don't own one and you're interested, check us out. We're at fitbarstrong.com. Appreciate it. Hope everybody's staying safe and practicing social distancing. So that's it for now. If you have any questions, please reach out and talk to us. Thanks.